All right. Interview TTH. Let's go. Let's see this. It's gonna be insane. Hello.
Hey,
Hey, what's going on, Mira?
doing well. How are you?
Yeah, get excited to see this, man.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it.
Jesus. I gotta do
All
a
right.
second engraving on every single class, you know?
Of course, of course. I feel like a lot of times the second engravings aren't that popular. They don't get the spotlight, but
Yeah,
it's good to put it on the map, you know?
definitely, yeah. And then I
All
get to
right.
learn just in case I wanna swap now because I'm gonna be getting the Ark Passive, you know? So
Yeah,
to see who changed my mind to swap to what.
of
It's
course, of course.
perfect. All
All
right,
right.
guys. Yeah, you can share the screen here and then I'll capture. Let me actually go right here. Boom, boom. There it is. There it is. Let me actually take this off too. Oh, it's not on the video. All right. You got the topics, right?
Yeah, I got the topics in front of me.
All right. All right.
Cool.
TTH Gunslinger, guys.
TTH. All right. So just want to give a quick background of just, who I am, why I play Time to Hunt, why I picked up Gunslinger and so on. So traditionally, I've been a big BDO player. I was into PvP. I was one of the most geared on NA. I was a top lead ambassador for Pearl Abyss.
Damn.
And I'm basically a grinder at the end of the day. That's what I've been used to for like the last couple of years. And, with that being said, BDO kind of took a dive and people, my friends, my community started getting me into Lost Ark. So I came around Lost Ark in around September 2023. So it's been a little over a year or so. And, I've traditionally just loved Gunslinger. That was one of the classes that I wanted to pick up. I wanted to learn. I wanted to play. I wanted to get into it. It was just one of those things where it's like, all right, I love my guns, love my pistols. I love my sniper. Now, when I was getting into that, I started off with one character and I started growing my roster. I started to learn how to raid, how to learn my class, smacking clown for like 10 hours or so. And it was a lot. It's a lot to take in, when you're learning and you have to look at guides, you have to look at the community guides that people put together and so on. So since then, I've kind of grown my roster. I've only played Time to Hunt Gunslinger.
Good. Yeah, I was
Currently,
gonna
I
ask you
have,
that. I was gonna ask you that.
yep.
So, holy fucking shit.
So there's only gunslingers on this roster. They're all Time to Hunt.
Yeah,
Um,
bro.
my alts are all 1660, which I think is a really healthy parking spot. They were all at 1640, but 1660 for now. And then
Mm. So you've
you
been
have the
TTH since day
crackhead
one.
main. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive.
So as you guys know, for people who do know me very well, I'm very vested into this game. I'm a whale. I swipe. I used to do it on BDO. I do the same thing on Lost Ark, and I try to keep things centralized around a lot of the game packages, the honing packages, and then whenever you need gold here and there, you just
Yeah.
focus on that. So I think Mr. 4K, as you said it last week, I'm probably one of those humble whales that you come across where I don't have relics, I don't
Yeah.
have level 10 gems, but
Yeah.
I do what I can with what I have.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah.
Cool.
It's still impressive. 1730 is crazy.
Yep. And obviously, as the game, kind of transitions, the developers start tackling things like busing, RMT, pumping in more supplies into the market,
Yeah.
making things cheaper. Hopefully the game direction will kind of help not just myself, but a lot of other players start being a little bit more vested into like, better engravings, cheaper relic books, cheaper gems, things like
Right.
that. So we'll see how that goes as time goes along.
Because right now it's almost impossible. It's
Exactly.
too much. It's too much.
All right. So let's go ahead and dive right into Time to Hunt. So a lot of folks will generally ask, like, why play Time to Hunt? If you guys recently looked at some of the leaderboards that were out there with some of the websites that we have to look up characters and classes, they put out demographics on like how many players are playing different class engravings and so on.
Right.
And you'll see that 93% of individuals are playing Peacemaker, and
Yeah.
there's only 7% of gunslingers playing Time to Hunt between
Damn.
3 regions, between NA East, NA
Damn.
West, and Europe. So less than 7%. And
Damn.
there's only less than 50 gunslingers that are over 1690. So as you guys know, the end game
Damn.
pool is not popular whatsoever.
That's crazy.
But my biggest thing is, you know, it's kind of an underdog of a class. It gets overshadowed a lot. A lot of people play a lot of different variations. They build it differently. They play according to their tastes.
Right.
But where does that put Time to Hunt? Because people always ask that question. Like they say, Time to Hunt is weak. Time to Hunt is D tier. You know, it
Right.
needs buffs.
Right.
This. Right. If you were to ask me, as someone who's been playing Time to Hunt for so long, I would say this class is very average, and it has the ability to excel above average. No matter what people say, this class is not weak. This spec is not weak, and you
Take
need
notes,
hands to
please.
play Gunslinger. I want you guys to take notes. You need
Please.
hands to play Gunslinger.
But the first quote, guys, take note right away. It's the hands. Diablo, qué
Hands
bueno.
always. And the beauty of this class, which is why I always recommend Gunslingers play Time to Hunt before they transition to Peacemaker, is that it's less skills, it's a little bit easier to learn, and you have a lot of speed that's built into the kit itself. So it makes learning and the baseline, the floor of the class, to be a lot higher than it was traditionally in tier 3. So you can generally perform really well as long as you use your skills, land your skills, and then you're good to go. So to keep on going down the list here, let's talk about the actual gear build and how to actually build Time to Hunt. So I'm going to open up the evolution tree over here.
Hey, el tomato, what up?
Now here's where we get into the secret sauce. You know, everyone has their own different builds that they want to run, but let me explain. There's two key critical builds that you can run with Time to Hunt. So build option number 1, which is the first one that I have on here, is a non-blunt thorn build. This is the type of build where, you know, you're getting so annoyed at seeing white numbers. You don't want to see that. You want to keep critting. This is the build that you want to run because you want to make sure you don't get frustrated at the game.
Yeah.
So the way Time to Hunt is set up, just like Peacemaker, it is a spec crit class. That's the general premise of the class itself. But Time to Hunt itself has crit rate built into the kit. So because of that reason, you could put all of your points into the spec tree, and then you'll put the remaining points into the crit stat. Now you might be asking, you might be wondering, why do I have it split up? So the beauty of gearing up in this game, or getting better accessories, or getting adrenaline, or different things like that, or whether you run the master or critical elixir set, generally with Time to Hunt, you want to lurk around 90 to 95% crit rate. There's really no need for you to run 100% crit rate. So the beauty of this class is that it continues to scale upwards. It continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger because every time you gain crit, you can start to take those points and put it into swiftness, which is what makes this class very quick, very fast, without having to drop off on your damage. So that's that for the main combat stat. For row 2, I think it's like non-negotiable that individuals learn or they spec into limit break. It is 30% evolution damage. Again, Time to Hunt is really about having the maximum, you know, limit that you can hit with your skills. That's what the class does extremely well. I know people love seeing this. This is one of those big number classes. If you like big numbers, this is the class spec to play, and you're going to enjoy it for that particular reason. And to give you guys examples of that, like, you know, if you do your T skill at like 1660 and you're hitting 1 bill, imagine when you start hitting 2 bill, 3 bill, 4 bill, you step into Behemoth and you hit an 8 billion T skill, you're going to love this class. So it scales extremely well the more you pump evolution damage into the kit, and also critical damage as well. Same thing with like outgoing damage and so on. The next thing we have on the list is Destruction Charger. So this is also non-negotiable. I mentioned that evolution damage is pretty key in this particular class. Now, the difference between Tier 3 and Tier 4 Time to Hunt Gunslinger is that in Tier 3, we were a lot slower by general. So people were very frustrated when they were playing the class because your base speed was always just 100%. But now, as you can see here, my base speed is 117%. So you can see how much the class has transitioned from Tier 3 into Tier 4, where you have speed. And that just makes the class so much more enjoyable when it comes to animation locks, landing your skills, moving around. And that's also another reason why we run Destruction Charger. You get 8% attack speed that's associated with that.
That's huge.
Huge. Now the last row Now, this is where things get a little bit subjective, and I want to make sure people hear this out because not everyone is going to be a 1680 plus, time to hunt gunslinger. They're
Right.
not going to have all their enlightenment points. So, if you are 1660, you'll know that the enlightenment tree, you don't have that last row unlocked. And because you don't have that last row unlocked at 1660, at least for now, this will change where you put your points into the last row. And let me explain why. So with Time to Hunt, you gain something called Assault Sniper, which is a brand new identity skill that you have. And I'll cover this a little bit later when we get more into the Enlightenment tree. But you gain a brand new skill, and this skill does not use MP. It has 0 MP usage whatsoever. But as you'll know, your sniper skills, your pisser skills, all these skills use a tremendous amount of MP, which is why if you're 1660 and you want the maximum amount of damage, you should run MP Furnace. The caveat of that is that you have to pop food because you're going to be burning your mana like crazy. So if you want to be one of the harder hitter time to hunt gunslingers at 1660, you'll run MP Furnace and you have to run food. But if you don't want to run food, or in I think 1 or 2 weeks we're going to get the Ark Passive update and so on, we'll probably get the last tree. We'll see how things go.
Right.
You want to use Standing Strike. It's the only good option that we have. And the reason for that is because this node will actually impact your Assault Sniper skill, which is about 15 to 20% of your total damage. So it's very important. So that is build number 1. Again, to kind of recap here, this is the type of build you would run if you want to get into Time to Hunt. You don't want to get frustrated. You don't want to see those white numbers and so on. But if you're a gamer and you want the biggest damage, you want to see the power of this class, you go to build 2.
Everything changes.
Blunt Thorn. Blunt Thorn is where the damage is at.
Yeah.
So for people who have a good understanding of what Blunt Thorn is, basically it's a type of build where your crit rate is capped at 80%, but every additional crit that you have above that translates into evolution damage. Now, in order to have the maximum efficiency of Blunt Thorn, you need 119% of crit rate. I think it's like 119.2% or something like that. So when you are putting together your build, you have to ask yourself, where do I get all of this crit rate? So the biggest node that you're going to get this crit rate from is Zealous Smite. Yeah. I think this is non-negotiable. You have to run Zealous Smite for that 24% crit rate.
A lot.
It's quite a bit. Limit Break stays essentially the same. Again, you don't need the crit rate of Keen Sense. What you'll notice is that a lot of Korean builds or a lot of gunslingers out there are running Keen Sense so that they can take points off of their crit to put it into swiftness. That is an option, but with a lot of testing that I've done, I've realized and I found out, and when I say a lot of tests, I'm talking like 4 hours worth of testing, multiple Trixion parses, going into raids and so on. Limit Break is still non-negotiable, the option to go. So you are going to be losing about 8% crit rate than you would gain from Keen Sense. But that's okay, because what do? You just put a little bit of points in crit, you offset some of it in a Swift, and you're good to go. Now, what I will say, which is the last thing I want to mention before we move on from the evolution tree, is when you are running Blunt Thorn, you are going to have to use the Master Elixir set. 50. This is a very 50. Now, I will say, I did a little bit of this before the Elixir update, guys. Elixirs is one of the worst systems in the game, and I stand by it. It still is one of the worst systems in the game. So when you are running the Blunt Thorn build, you should run the Master set. It's about 1% more efficient than the critical set. But what I've noticed is that a lot of gunslingers that are trying out Time to Hunt, or they want to, go through it, they probably already have a critical set that they can use. You can use that. That's actually perfectly fine. The difference between critical and master is about a 1% efficiency. The difference is, if you run the critical set, all you have to do is take points off of your swiftness and just put it into your crit. That's literally all you have to do.
Offset it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the beauty of Time to Hunt is that the build is very versatile. You can keep on moving around, you can keep on shifting it around, and you won't lose too much damage. But if you want the best of the best, there's a particular way that you have to build it. And The last thing I'll mention is that you can use the critical set with the non-blunt thorn build, and you should still be over 90% crit rate perfectly fine. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is the Enlightenment tree. So this is where the fun begins. This is where Time to Hunt becomes a little bit special, right? So Time to Hunt compared to Peacemaker, Peacemaker has the shotgun. They have a little bit of speed built in. They have outgoing damage. Time to Hunt is here on the right side. What Time to Hunt gains is it gains a ton of crit rate. So you'll notice that on the first row you'll have 15% crit. On the third row you'll have 30% crit.
Damn.
So you gain 45% crit, literally just from this class tree, and that is one reason as to why Blunt Thorn is so strong.
Damn.
And one of the biggest buffs that we got between tier 3 and tier 4 is crit damage. Now back in the day, which is why a lot of people did not like Time to Hunt, it was a double class engraving. Right. You had to run Peacemaker and Time to Hunt at level 3 if you wanted the maximum amount of damage.
I remember that, yeah.
And no one wanted to do that because who wants to run 2 full class engravings? So the good thing is that in T4, they basically buffed our crit damage from 15 to 27%, and they gave us an identity skill that we can run. So I think this is pretty non-negotiable. As you guys know, you put your points into the right side tree, and when you are 1660, you're not going to have any points down here. The 4th row is going to be unlocked. So I will say the class doesn't really become fun until you unlock Assault Sniper, but it's still good to play because you're generally faster, you hit harder, there's more crit damage, and we actually have a little bit more crit from tier 3 as well, which is really good. But as you start to gear up, you start to ascend a little bit, you start to hit past 1660, you unlock Enlightenment, you hit 1680 and so on, you'll start to gain points to put into Assault Sniper. Now, people have been doing a lot of testing, there's been a lot of debates. There was a point in time where we had enough points to get Assault Sniper to level 2. Now here's the irony of this, which I think is very poor planning from Smilegate on how they balance this class, which is this skill, when it's at level 1, it has base damage and it gives you 8% outgoing damage, like just as a base default. The second you put 2 points into it, 45. The skill gains 45% damage.
That's crazy.
And it's huge. And when you get to level 3, it gets 90%. So the thing about Time to Hunt that makes it so unique is that your sniper skills hit like a truck. And the irony is that there was a lot of debates between what is stronger, level 2 Assault Sniper or level 1 Assault Sniper, and then putting in points into your side nodes. The funny thing about Time to Hunt is that keeping this at level 1 and putting points into your side nodes is actually slightly stronger than putting points into having level 2 Assault Sniper.
Interesting.
It's actually one of those things where most people will look at the class and be like, oh yeah, you know, I just gained points, let me level up Assault Sniper, 45% damage, big damage, great. But what folks don't know is that if you were to take 8 points or 10 points and put it into your side nodes, which I'll cover right now, you'll gain more damage on your sniper skills, your T skills, your ult, to the point where you do so much damage with those skills that Assault Sniper is actually very weak. Matter of fact, it was so weak that even KR, when they pushed buffs, they had to buff Assault Sniper about, I think it was like 20%. When T4 came out, it marinated for a couple months. They were like, damn, Time to Hunt is weak. We got to buff this skill by 20%. And despite doing that, people still don't want to play Time to Hunt because they know it's not really the strongest. Now, I will say the class does shine when it's at level 3. But for everyone else who's watching, who's building up the class, if you don't have many points, put it at level 1. And now let's get into the side nodes. So we have 4 different options that we can pick from. I think there are only 2 options that are viable. Peacemaker runs Secret Bullet. We also run Secret Bullet. Secret Bullet is just efficient. It's very strong to use. You have a little bit of that RNG on some of your sniper skills. You can occasionally land that 25% outgoing damage. You'll know when you land that 25% outgoing damage. You'll see it. But what I will say that makes Time to Hunt very, very unique is that we can put points into Sniper's Will. Sniper's Will is a node where every time you use a sniper skill, you gain 1 stack. And you can build the stack up to 3 times. When you have 3 stacks, your movement speed and attack speed is 4.5%, and your critical damage is at 15%,
Damn.
which is very strong. Now, what is the downside though? The downside is every time you hit spacebar, you lose 1 stack.
Wow.
But, you know, it's good and bad, right? Because I feel
Yeah.
like if you're very accustomed to a boss, you're doing older raids, you're not getting hit much, you're not using spacebar much, Sniper's Will is an amazing side node to use. And because you're faster, you have a higher likelihood of landing your skills. You have a higher likelihood of not getting stuck in animation and so on. So there are valuable benefits to running Sniper's Will. But if you're learning, you're getting into time to hunt, you're using spacebar a little bit too often, go ahead, put those points into Secret Bullet, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Wow, that's huge, actually. Yeah.
So the other 2 options, which I'm going to just completely cross out the list, we have gun replacement. The community guide does recommend gun replacement. In all honesty, it is not good whatsoever. You have to use 2 pistol skills and then a weapon swap in order to gain the damage buff. But what you guys will notice in tier 4 compared to tier 3 is that you are generally in your sniper stance for longer, or you have to maneuver around the boss, you have to reposition, you have to do multiple different things where 9 seconds is not enough to maintain that outgoing damage that you're going to have with the pistol stance. So this buff actually drops off. And I think it's something to definitely keep in mind. It is fun to use. You can use it, but I will say if you don't want to put much brain power into thinking about how you want to play the class, take the lazy approach, Secret Bullet, call it a day. And the last one is Vital Hit Point or Vital Point Expert. I don't know why this exists. It's one of those things where it gives us crit rate, but I feel like with Time to Hunt, you gain so much crit. You have your evolution tree. There's literally no point in putting points in here. You can min-max a little bit if you're like playing Blunt Spike and you're at like 118%. You want that 1%, but it's not a big deal because you have to also think about like, what if you have another crit synergy in your party?
Right.
What if you have a support that has you know, the crit debuff?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So you can put points into it, but I will always say this: Time to Hunt is very numbers heavy. You're always gonna have to open up the screen here, go to your crit rate, and do all these calculations to figure it out.
Damn.
But once you figure it out, you're kind of good to go. So the last one that I have on the list here, and matter of fact, let me go to Trixion for this because I think this one I actually have to showcase. It'll make a lot more sense. Let's see. Where's Trixion?
I have to mention as well too. Yeah, somebody actually said it too that you play on controller as well too, right?
Yes. So as you guys can see, the buttons at the bottom, they're all mapped to my controller.
Yeah.
I have the beautiful benefit of spinning in circles and moving around and so on. I do use my mouse and I press on the keyboard when I need to do interface things. It is convenient, but yes, I am the rare controller player out there.
That's insane.
All right. Let's go ahead and head to Trixion. Also, I guess I have a little bit of a fan club going on over here. They're just chilling. If you guys want to feast, you know, come by, come grab, come see the sightseeing of all the gunslingers that are currently locked up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. The homies are there.
The homies are there.
Imagine getting clapped up by a controller TTH, guys. Time to uninstall. Qué fácil.
I will say, I've gotten quite a bit of a following of, you know, I do upload videos on YouTube and people will see that I'm a controller player. So they'll like join Discord or they'll DM me and they'll say, hey, look, you're another controller player. I need help, this, and this. So I will say controller is very optimized for folks who want to get into it. I could not play Lost Ark with keyboard and mouse when I started playing the game. I do think controller is very optimized and you can do skills pretty seamlessly. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to.
Damn, interesting. That's what's up. I thought it's hard. I don't know. I never got, you know. I find on YouTube. Yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't know. I'm gonna follow him too.
So the good thing is that with controller is the mappings make sense. So if you guys look at like the first row up here on the top left, it's mapped to your left bumper. And if you look at the bottom row, it's mapped to your left trigger. If you look at the right side, is the exact same way. You have your right bumper and you have your right trigger. So by default, they do a really good job with saying, okay, how does this make sense for your hands?
Right.
Go ahead and summon a boss here. So where we left off at was the leap tree. So I think it's non-negotiable that having damage into your hyper skill or your awakening technique skill, your T skill, is very important. This thing hits like a truck for our class in particular. There is something that I don't know, but it's something very interesting about Time to Hunt when it comes to her T skill scaling with evolution damage and critical damage and outgoing damage, where you start to hit like crazy with every like 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% you continue to add to it, which is why our T skill is just phenomenally like strong. And we only have one option of a T skill. I think I forgot to cover that, but
The rifle, right?
right. So in Peacemaker, you have either option. You can put points into like, your shotgun skill or to your sniper skill. But in Time to Hunt, you only have one option, which is called Bullseye. This is the only option that you can run.
Right.
The pistol skill is literally just a Chaos Dungeon one that you can run. But for Time to Hunt, Bullseye is the only option. So to continue to go through this, you'll notice that some people will put points into the awakening skill damage here. I think this is still very good for short fights, simply because of the fact that our T skill is on a 1 minute cooldown. Actually, it's a little over a minute. It's actually a pretty long cooldown when you use your T skill, but with the node that you have here, you can reduce it down to 1 minute. And if you have swiftness, which I will always mention this, Time to Hunt lets you play with swiftness. Peacemaker does not. So you get more mileage out of your T skill and out of your skill rotation because you're lowering your cooldown on specific skills like that. So when people say that you have to cast like, your T skill like 15 to 17 times in a fight or something like that before it makes sense, that doesn't really apply to Time to Hunt because of the fact that you're running swiftness, you have better scaling on your T skill, and the thing hits like a truck. So I will say for short fights, if it's like, about 5 minutes, yes, you can put points into your hyper awakening damage, but I do recommend just putting it into the 2T skill nodes. So the next thing that I have on here is two different options on how you can build your leap tree. So let me unspec it just to kind of show how this works. So when you use your T skill, it's a skill that locks on and it takes a little bit of time to cast. So you'll notice that it takes about 1.9 seconds to cast. Now, with this skill, you can walk out of it. You can regain the cooldown. So let me actually show how much cooldown you regain. So if I cast my T skill, and if I get knocked up, I do a different skill, I spacebar, I walk out. No matter what, you will recover the cooldown. So you can plan your shot. So if I do my skill and I walk out of it, you'll notice that it goes on a 5-second cooldown.
Oh, that's actually
and I
good.
regain it back. It is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing, and I will always say this about Time to Hunt, Peacemaker is just as important. We all understand that hands are needed to play this class. But in order to excel on this class very well, you have to land every single one of your shots. So if it means playing a little bit slower, if it means waiting for the next boss pattern, waiting for a just guard, whatever it may be, do that so that you're not wasting a 60-second cooldown, a 20-second cooldown, a 40-second cooldown. We have very major cooldowns on this class, so you have to make sure you gain that effectiveness. So why is that important, right? So the reason that's important is because Bullseye option number 1 lets you cancel, which goes back to Enhanced Shot. Enhanced Shot is one option that you can run on this class, which basically means that when you run this node, and I'll put it to level 3 for now, it increases the casting time, which means that it takes longer to use the skill, but you do more damage, and you get the ability to still cancel it if you want to walk out of it.
Nice.
So as you'll notice, the cooldown, the cast time went from 1.9 seconds to a total of 2.2.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit longer, and people will find that very annoying. But like I mentioned before, if you continue to build the class up and you continue to gain more points of swiftness, and you start to invest, I mean, not now, but let's say down the road you invest in things like Relic Adrenaline, you gain more crit, you gain more swift in the process.
Right.
You'll notice that the slow cast T skill is going to be perfectly fine to use. And there are ways to gain more attack speed with that as well. So I'll cover that once we go over the skill runes and all of that. But this is one benefit of using that. If you run the other option, which I think a lot of gunslingers are using, this option is a little bit more fun to use, where you'll notice this. We call this the instacast, where it goes way faster.
Yeah.
You just press button, boom, and it just
Damn.
goes at it. But the issue with that is you don't have the ability to walk out of this skill. You don't have the ability to cancel it.
Yeah.
Once you cast it, you're stuck. So if the boss knocks you up, that's it. You're done for. You lost that entire 60 seconds of cooldown.
Yeah.
So there are pros and cons to using that, which is, something to keep in mind. All right. So I think that covers the overall build. I will say, to kind of go back to this, I personally run the slow version of this. I also run the blunt thorn version of this build, so I have my points in the blunt thorn, and I have a little bit more points into swiftness. So this is generally how I play the class, and I think this works out very well for us. So the next thing I have on the list is going through skills and our tripods and the runes as well. So I think it's non-negotiable. I'm going to actually start bottom up here.
Yeah.
Your sniper skills, I mean, we play Time to Hunt. You're a full sniper-based class with a little bit of pistol skills for utility. So all of your points are going to be maxed out for your sniper skills that we have here. I do have the tripods up on the screen here. So target down. Again, this is pretty non-negotiable. It's pretty much the exact same in the skill builds as well. It's the same thing on every Time to Hunt guide you're going to see out there. Every tripod on this list generally is just increasing damage, and every rune that you essentially slot in to your sniper skills all impact the skill casting speed. Again, you want to make sure that you're not spending too much time and being animation locked in your sniper skills. So again, when it comes to choices, you're always trying to go for the gale winds, and you're trying to go for the tripods that give damage. So this is target down. This is focus shot. Focus shot is one of your hardest hitting sniper skills. So this skill is pretty critical to have maxed out, and you want to have the maximum gale wind on it. Quick aim, double tap, final strike. Perfect shot. This is actually probably one of the weakest sniper skills that we have. Even Peacemaker, we joke about it all the time.
Yeah.
We don't know why this skill is
This guy.
on the chart, but at least it's better than Spiral Flame. We don't know why this exists either, but you have perfect shot. Generally, we take the paralysis immunity on this skill. We're putting in damage. One thing I will mention, which I think is a legacy thing that kind of carried over from tier 3. In Peacemaker, back in tier 3, we had something called execution damage, where if the boss was below 50, like anywhere from 30 to 50% HP, our damage would ramp up. They removed that from Peacemaker since then, or the engraving itself. But what they didn't do is they didn't remove it from our tripods.
Wow.
So we still have this within our tripods. So I do want to make sure that people do keep in mind that when you are considering things like atro windows, when you're DPing at, when you're trying to pump the most amount of DPS, when you see the numbers start to climb up, there are multiple skills that we're going to have where you're going to see it ramp up below that 50% mark, and it's because of the reason of having the tripods.
Jeez.
One more thing to mention with perfect shot, this is a traditional thing, we don't really use it anymore, but back in the day, Time to Hunt, if you were skilled enough, you wouldn't use paralysis immunity, you would put the bleed tripod on here. And the reason you would do that is because when you are in the sniper stance, you would gain the Peacemaker sniper buff, which is the outgoing damage, which impacts your bleed, which makes the damage of the bleed go up. So when you start to hit about 1 million per second for 5 seconds, the damage starts to ramp up. This is the mechanical skills on what makes Time to Hunt a high skill ceiling class. But people didn't know this in tier 3. They didn't want to make these small little changes here and there. They were like, all right, let me just get the paralysis immunity, which is okay. We run that for now. Catastrophe. Obviously, you have to have tenacity. This is, I gotta say this over and over again. Time to Hunt, Peacemaker, we don't have a lot of push immunity. It's all about hands. It's all about making sure you don't get knocked up. But This is one skill that you do gain push immunity for, so you have to use this particular tripod. If you want maximum damage on Time to Hunt, Eternal Calamity is the tripod to use. What this does is it puts a claymore, a little detonation on the ground, and it continues to pop that explosion where the boss is standing. Now, there are pros and cons to this, because if the boss moves, you lose damage. And you guys, I know everyone knows this. If you take this into Gate 4 of Famine, that man's loves moving around like crazy. Belshazzar Gate 2, a little bit of the same thing does happen, but if you play very well, you understand the attack patterns, you will gain maximum damage of Eternal Calamity. But I will say, if you don't want to use that, you can use Carpet Bombing, which is more of an insta-cast. It just does 2 detonations right then and there. And that's essentially it. So moving up on the list, so I covered 4 main damage skills down here. We have 2 more main damage skills that we can run. The next one on the list is Bullet Rain. This is one of your hard-hitting pistol skills. It is the type of skill where you have to hold it down, you have to cast it. It takes a couple of seconds for it to continue to shoot. So this is why we also have a Gale Wind on this to just speed it up just a little bit. The next one we have on the list is Meteor Stream. Meteor Stream is another damage skill that we have. This is actually one of the lowest ones on the priority list. Time to Hunt is one of those classes where we just run out of skills. We run out of damage skills. We don't have shotgun skills and sniper skills to both couple in our class. So you're kind of just left with the scraps or whatever you have with your pistol skills. And Meteor Stream is just really one of the only options left on the table. Now, I will say one caveat with Meteor Stream is that this is also a stagger skill. It has pretty decent stagger, mid stagger, so you do want to put points into it. It's pretty good. In terms of the last tripod that we have on the list here, you can either use the slower casting, higher hitting bombardment tripod, or you could do the fast cast one, which is a singular hit. You gain 20% minimum attack speed that kind of goes with this, and it just goes really fast. So if you want a faster playstyle with Time to Hunt, you can go with Meteor Fall. But I will always say this, when you are learning the class, you have 2 options. Exactly, it's slow. So you can either learn it with having all of the handicap of being fast, knowing that you're going to do less damage, or you could be like me, who went through the trenches and suffered, where I played and I learned it from the slowest absolute baseline, and I learned to get better according to the bosses that I'm fighting with that. So it's all preference, but I will say it's a time investment. When you are slow, when you are not fast, you're getting frustrated, you're getting knocked up and stuff like that, you're not going to have a good time. So have that versatility. I want all the Time to Hunt gunslingers out there who want to get into it to keep that in mind, where pick according to your playstyle and your learning curve. Some people learn faster, some people learn a little bit slower. Just keep that in mind with that. So the rest of the stuff are literally just filler skills. We have counters, you have your crit synergy that you have to work off of. So in terms of skill points, our crit synergy is Spiral Tracker. We actually have a couple different crit synergies that we can use, but the main one that I use is Spiral Tracker. So you want to put a couple points into here. You can put just 4 points and get exposed weakness. That's perfectly fine. I do have a quick recharge on this. Quick recharge is very important and vital for this class. We should be running a minimum of 2, but I do think there is another type of build where you can run 4, which is the one that I'm currently running, which I'll cover in a bit. But Spiral Tracker, because it's your crit synergy, you always have to use it. It's on an 8-second cooldown, but the crit synergy is 6. Now, the important thing to understand with that is that the crit synergy, when you throw it, it lasts for the full duration of every hit that's happening. So by the time the cooldown comes back, it lasts for the full 8 seconds. It's not based off of when you throw it.
Right.
It's based off of every hit that happens, and that hit takes about 2 seconds.
So it can be 100% uptime on crit.
Right. Now, I will say in T3, I was a 1 crit type of player, but there's a lot of discipline that comes with that. I think with Tier 4, because we're not running an additional damage skill, by the way, in Tier 3, we were 7 damage main skills, which also means 7 damage gems. In Tier 4, you can run 6. And 6 is perfectly fine, and I'll cover the reason as to why we do it that way when I cover our skill rotation. But you run 6 main damage skills. Your first crit synergy is Spiral Tracker. Your second one that you could use is Dexterous Shot. Dexterous Shot is a 6-second cooldown skill. The crit lasts for 8 seconds, so it's a little bit longer, which I think is really, really good. Dexterous Shot is a mobility skill, so you use it to maneuver around the boss. And it's really good, like when you're fighting a boss, or you're fighting Brel, or you're fighting Gate 4, and you need to reposition. As you're moving close to the boss, a couple of your hits are going to land, which means you're already applying your crit synergy, which means you don't have to throw a Spiral Tracker. You can immediately start dumping skills and start going at it. So there's a little bit of utility that comes with Dexterous Shot. Now, with that being said, I do put additional points into it because if you run it at level 7, you get additional mobility. I think this is a really good quality of life with the current nature of the type of bosses that we're fighting. The current raids, these bosses are either moving around a lot, they cover a lot of distances. You have to be able to reposition and get out the way. And if you're not running the movement distance tripod, you're not going to be moving as far. Now, that's not to say you can't run this at level 4. You can run it at level 4 and put more damage into things like AT Grenade. But I will say if you want to have a comfortable experience when you're fighting, having that mobility is good. The next mobility skill that we have is called Somersault Shot. You put a little bit of points on here to gain a little bit of attack speed. So everyone knows this skill. You literally just flip. Now, when you're combining it with other skills, you can see that you tend to cover a lot of distance on the class. And people will always say this. I don't want to hate on some of the gunslingers out there, but a lot of folks will say, we're animation lock, we can't cover much distance, we're slow. I'm sorry. But we are one of the most versatile, fast-moving classes out there, and we can cover a whole map. I don't want to hear any excuses with that. I don't want to hear any excuses. Roasted. So, another thing to mention with this is AT Grenade. AT Grenade in Tier 3 used to be one of our main damage skills, but now it's more of a filler skill that we use. Again, the more filler skills you have helps keep up your adrenaline stacks, but it also lets you proc your quick recharge runes, which I think is very, very important to have. So we've already established that there are 2 skills that you can put quick recharges on. So I'll cover bleeds in a second, but that's one option. Your remaining 2 skills is your counter and one other skill. So your counter is called Peacekeeper. You have to put points into this. You have to get that 6 meter distance with it. If not, you're going to be countering from melee distance. But when you're doing it with the tripod, you cover the distance and you're able to basically, I love to say this, you basically backhand with your gun. You just smack the boss as you counter. So you want to make sure to have that mobility that goes with it. Now, the last skill, which the reason I put this as the last one, because I think this is a very subjective one to run. This is a remnant of Tier 3, which I think is very important for Tier 4 as well, which is Quick Step. Yep. This one, if you put 4 points into it and you get the first tripod called Life Absorption, you gain a 13.8% attack speed and movement speed buff for 5 seconds. Now, with Peacemaker, I don't think this buff is as viable. I know some Peacemaker gunslingers still run this, but for Time to Hunt, because we don't have as many skills as Peacemaker and we're more reliant on our sniper skills, it is pretty important to make sure that you're kind of pre-buffing with Quick Step. But the other thing to keep in mind is that we don't have as many skills as Peacemaker, or so we don't have the additional shotgun skills where you have a bunch of fiddlers you can work with. So because of that reason, you're using your pistol skills a lot more often. So when you have the ability to pre-buff and get your additional attack speed, it happens naturally. When you're casting your Quick Step and you're gaining that buff, you're not using it because you want to gain more damage. You're using it because you want to increase your likelihood of being able to land your sniper skills. Because of the fact that it's slower, you have backloaded damage and so on. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you think about things like your T skill, this has a a pretty long cast time, but if you are running quick step before you are casting it,
Oh wow.
you do shave off about, you saw it shaved off about like 0.4
Yeah.
seconds, which is about close to half a second. So you have the ability to prepare for using a slow casting T skill, or your sniper skills and so on. So it's just something to keep in mind. So the last thing I wanted to mention related to runes, I wanted to cover this again. I wanted to swing back at it. I run 2 additional quick recharges on my build. I think with Assault Sniper being a 45-second cooldown, your T skill being a 60-second cooldown, all of your sniper skills being about 20-second cooldowns, and because of the fact that you're on time to hunt and you're constantly spamming pistol skills, you gain a lot of mileage from these quick recharge runes. And these quick recharge runes will proc according to the cooldown of where your skill is at. So if you use your T skill and it's on a 60-second cooldown and your quick recharge procs, you will get more seconds shaved off of that cooldown
Oh wow.
compared to if your T skill was sorry, wrong skill. If you run your T skill and it starts counting down, so I'm gonna pop this.
Right.
Wait, did I actually? I don't know why I gained that cooldown back. Hold on. What the heck just happened? Okay, there we go.
Right.
57-second cooldown. So if your quick recharge procs, it'll shave off more seconds the longer the cooldown is. But if it's like 10 seconds left, you're not going to gain much mileage out of it.
Right.
So let me do this one more time so you'll kind of see this. So if I run a long cooldown,
that's 5 hit shit right here.
So now if I start spamming these skills, look
They
at
go
that.
down, yeah.
It went from 57 to 46.
Bro.
Instantly that happened.
Bro.
And the beauty of this is that you don't have to think about it because you're already using your pistol skill. You're already moving around the boss. You're using your quick step. All this stuff happens naturally, which is very, very important.
That's pretty nice deep, my lord.
So this is how you gain damage. This is where the big brain portion comes into play. But I do want to mention that a lot of people will argue the opposite. So I'll argue the opposite too. So what are your other options, right? Your other options is running bleed and poison. So let me rearrange this. Let's put quick recharge on something like quick step. We'll just leave it there. Let's put a bleed rune. Let's see, bleed. Let's put bleed on AT grenade, and let's put poison on something like dexterous shot because these are low cooldown skills. So it makes sense to put bleed on there and poison on dexterous shot. Again, it's all personal preference, but always remember if you're running bleed or poison, you gain more mileage if it's on a skill that is 6 seconds or less. So you have infinite upkeep of that skill of the bleed that's happening.
Right.
So if I were to throw this, and you look at the bleeds that are happening, you can see someone of my gear level. Damn. Again, this is not including support buffs and so on.
That's big damage.
That's about 5 mil damage per second that happens. And if you have a support buff, you have adrenaline running, you have this, and this. I've seen my bleeds go all the way up from 10 to 12 mil damage per second, which is massive. But the issue compared to T3 versus T4. In T3, you had the ability to run a tripod on AT grenade, which allowed you to detonate the grenade, which basically allowed you to have 9 seconds of infinite bleeding. We don't have that anymore. And the other thing is that now that we have poison rune, you kind of have to find a place to fit your rune in, and there are not many options that are below 6 seconds. Dexterous shot is an option that you could have it on, but you're not always going to be maneuvering around. You may not always be repositioning. Because of that reason, your bleed, the effectiveness of it continues to go down during a fight. Cutscenes also impacted. Fights like Ager, where he's teleporting around, reduces the effectiveness. Belshazzar, Gate 2, the exact same thing happens where she's moving around or you're busy doing a bunch of sniper skills. You don't have the ability to constantly bleed. So the effectiveness of your bleed in time to hunt starts to range between 50 to 70% of its effectiveness. Because of that reason, you might be saying, okay, well, that's still like, 4 to 5 mil DPS per second. But if you're running quick recharges and you get an additional skill cycle, a single sniper skill will be stronger than your bleed. Guaranteed. If you pop a T skill and you get one additional T skill over the course of the fight, you're already dropping 10 mil more DPS from that additional skill just from its cast. That's my argument. That's basically what I've been saying. Like, you can use bleed early on. I still use bleeds on my alts. On my 1660s, I use it because I don't have as much swiftness on those characters. But as you continue to take time to hunt to the heavens and you want it to be the best of the best, you're going to want to make sure to reduce your cooldowns as much as you can.
Yeah, bro.
So that basically covers the skill build. The rest of the stuff that are on the list are pretty straightforward. They're very simple. We have gems on the list. As I mentioned before, your sniper skills are your most important skills. So you'll notice that the runes that I have on... Actually, can I see my equipped ones? Anyways, let me just go through it one by one. So the gems that you have on are going to be cooldowns and damage for all of your sniper skills. And then the last one that you're going to have it on is bullet rain. You want to have damage and cooldown on your bullet rain as well. And you want to have a damage gem on, let's see, where is it? On meteor stream. So you're running a 6 damage gem build in total, and you have 5 cooldowns that are associated with it. In tier 3, it was a little bit different because we were running 7 damage gems because you could literally put one on AT grenade, but we don't run this anymore as a damage skill. But back in the day, you would have an additional damage gem on here. Now, the thing to keep in mind as to why we also run a cooldown gem on catastrophe, we didn't traditionally do this in tier 3, but we do it on tier 4. It's something that I didn't cover earlier related to assault sniper, which is how does this skill even work? So if we go back to our Ark Passive tree and I hover over assault sniper, it is like I mentioned before, it's a brand new skill that you can use. It is on a 45-second cooldown, but the beauty of this skill is that every time you use a sniper skill, you reduce the cooldown by 1 second. And every time you run a handgun skill, it reduces by half a second. So what ends up happening is that when you are playing this class and you start to spam your skills and you start to use your sniper skills, the effective cooldown of this skill with all your fillers, you'll notice that it starts to tick down a lot faster. Which is why, I'll circle back to this, which is why this class scales so well as you continue to gain swiftness, as you continue to gain better cooldown gems, because the more spamming you do, the more times you can cast Assault Sniper, which at level 3 is now 20% of your damage percentage for the entire class. Your T skill is 20%, your Assault Sniper is 20%. So 40% of your damage is coming from 2 skills alone. And the more you spam, the more you use your fillers, the better damage you're going to have with Assault Sniper over the course of a fight. Play fast, and you'll notice that this class does very, very well.
Jesus Christ. So this is another class that transforms when you are 1680, huh?
Yeah, it gets so much more better. Let me put on Spirit Absorption because I think it'll be helpful for this.
Time to change PS, guys. Bye PS.
Yes, sir.
Here I come.
So the next thing we have on the list is literally just your your engravings and the rock. So I did cut this back in T3. Back in the day, we would run Peacemaker 1 as our +1 engraving, but if you cut a 9/7, you run Peacemaker 3 with Time to Hunt 3 with Adrenaline 2. So that was the premise behind as to why we have it set up that way. Now in tier 4, Adrenaline is still required. You should have that at level 7. But as we all know, a lot of the damage nodes got changed to outgoing damage. So whether you're running Grudge or Hitmaster or Cursed Doll, it literally doesn't matter which one you put on your stone. Yes, there is a better one to run, which is going to be Keen Blunt. If you have a Keen Blunt Adrenaline Stone, that is technically best in slot. But first of all, who wants to cut another 9/7? If you're going for a 9/7, Keen Blunt Adrenaline is expensive as hell.
Yeah.
So there's no shame in running Hitmaster, Grudge, or Cursed All. It's perfectly fine. One more thing I wanted to mention is that in my case, I don't have any relics. I made sure to buy the last book for Adrenaline because, you know, I don't want to sit at 4 books. They give a couple of them for free. If you are struggling with this class and you're not seeing the damage output that you have and you want to invest into cheaper engravings, or you play other classes that share engravings, there are other options you can run on here. So if I were to go back to this engraving tree, a couple of different options that we can run. I know this happens with Peacemaker, where in Peacemaker they run MP efficiency. I will say you can still do this in Time to Hunt, but you have to plan ahead and understand that your assault sniper skill does not use MP.
MP, right? Yeah.
So it's not exactly the same as Peacemaker, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it on Time to Hunt if you don't have Assault Sniper. So it's perfectly fine to consider that. The other one that I've seen people run, which is also perfectly fine, is Stabilized Status. If you have a really good support that you're playing with, or you're with the static, the mileage of this engraving shoots up like crazy because you're always shielded, you're always DR'd, you know, your HP is usually above a certain amount. But I will always say this: Gunslinger is a squishy class.
Yeah.
So if you get smacked and your HP is low, you will lose damage from this. Exactly. But you can use it. The last option that I've seen a couple of KR players run, which I think is okay, like I mentioned before, you do gain additional speed in Time to Hunt because you are above 110%, up to 115, up to 120%. You can run mass increase and be perfectly fine. But I will always say this, even though you're gaining more damage, the less speed that you have, the less you can spam certain skills, the less effectiveness you get with Assault Sniper. So there are pros and cons associated with this. And obviously, if you are slower, you know, you have to make sure that you are better at the fight. You have to make sure you have better mastery over the fight. So again, it is an option. You can use it, but there is a best in slot build, as always, that we can run. So those are the additional options we have on the list. So I talked about technique, the T skill before. We've already covered that. We've covered how like there is a slow version and there's a fast version. The one thing I wanted to cover next is the, let's see here, the hyper skill. So there are 2 types of alts that you can run. There is Eye of the Twilight, which is, I think, the option that most gunslingers run, even in Peacemaker. This is an option that people love to use. Eye of the Twilight is harder hitting, it is slower casting, and you have to aim it in a way where the boss is in front of you.
Right.
That is something to keep in mind with this. For the other one, which I also think is a good option, on every single one of my alts, I run the other option because, one, I love the skill, but it's a little bit faster. It's HE Caliber Bullet. This one, you cast it faster, and the Hyper Awakening is a massive AoE. There's literally no way you can miss with this unless you're on the other side of the map when it comes to using this skill. But I will say, with the other one, you can miss. Yeah. So there are pros and cons to that. So let me actually showcase how each of these works.
I missed that one before.
So the normal ult is, you know, you just have to aim it forward. You hit the boss. Pretty straightforward. When you're doing the hyper one, you have to make sure that the boss is also in front of you. And when you cast it, this is how the animation looks. I think it's sick.
It's nice, yeah. I like it.
And it goes directly straight. But if the boss moves out the way, you're done for. That's not going to hit. And it depends on the orientation of the boss. So the thing when it comes to raid mastery in this game, when you understand boss patterns, you can also be able to predict and understand the direction in which a boss could potentially move. If you know the boss generally will move front and back, you want to position yourself in a way where you know that you can land it. But if you're off to the sides and you know the boss is in a manner where they can dodge to the left or right, you probably don't want to use that skill unless you know the timing is perfect for you to use it, because you'll completely miss. The other one that we have on the list is HE Bullet. Again, this is the one I use on my alts. This one is very fast, which I like. So if you actually just cast in the ult, very quick and easy. It also has max stagger, which does come in handy as well. Like it's literally max. The stagger literally just says max, so it's actually a pretty good one to use.
Yeah.
And then the hyper, again, you can't really miss with this. It's a beautiful little sniper, comes down, boom. And you saw the AoE size on that. It's really, really hard to miss. One thing I will mention is that this one comes in handy when you are at gate 2 of Echidna. You can hit both of the snakes when you
Oh
use this particular
yeah.
one. So for those little parse monkeys out there, you want to
Yeah.
really get the best of the best damage, you can run the sniper one more time.
Yeah, that's
Massive
true.
AoE, good to
Boom.
go.
Qué fácil.
Nice.
Sheesh.
So let me step out of Trixie and I'll come back. I just want to make sure my build is correct. So the last thing we have on the list is generally um the skill breakdown, the rotation. Now we're getting into how do we play this class. Let me just make sure I'm on Blunt Thorn.
The real
Got
deal
my
now,
T
boys.
skill.
The real deal now, boys.
So
Diablo.
you guys have probably heard this many times when it comes to Peacemaker as well. There is not particularly a set rotation, but there is a priority of skills that you want to use at whatever given point in time. So when you're stepping into a fight, the most important thing that you have to do is obviously keep up your adrenaline. So whether you're approaching the boss or you're maneuvering, you want to make sure you use your pistol skills to be able to do that. So you can use things like dexterous shot, somersault, AT grenade. You can literally throw AT grenade at the boss or just throw it anywhere. As long as you gain a stack of adrenaline, that's kind of your goal. However you want to build up your adrenaline is essentially up to you. As long as you're using your filler pistol skills, that's essentially what you want to do. And then when you are at the max adrenaline stack, again, I'm not going to showcase it for this because I want to showcase how we break apart the rotation, but let's assume you are at max adrenaline. What's the first set of skills that you want to use? So the first thing to make sure that you have your crit sin applied. Whether you have dexterous shot applied to the boss or you have spiral tracker, make sure you have that sin going. Make sure you have quick step going prior to swapping over to your sniper stance. Now, when you are in your sniper stance, the two main skills that you want to make sure to use is Assault Sniper and your T skill. You want to get these off as soon as possible. And the reason you want to
so
start
off.
with Assault Sniper. Go ahead.
I was so off. I was thinking other skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to hunt is a little bit different.
You got me. You got me there.
Got you. So let me explain why. So the reason you want to make Assault Sniper your first skill is because of the nature of the skill. Every sniper and pistol skill you use reduces the cooldown of Assault Sniper. So if you are dumping a bunch of other skills and you haven't casted Assault Sniper as yet, you're losing anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds of a cooldown because you didn't make it your first priority. And the same thing with your T skill. This thing hits like a truck. You have to make sure to put it on cooldown as soon as possible before you start dumping all your other sniper skills. Because again, you have quick recharges to think about. You have other things you have to think about. You want to make sure that's your priority. So to kind of go back to this, let's say I'm ready to dump my skills. I start off with Assault Sniper. I follow up with Bullseye. And you can see how quickly a lot of that goes off when you're casting all of that. So one more time, again, you make sure you have adrenaline. You can cast Assault Sniper. You get your T skill off. That's your first segment of priority when it comes to playing this class. The other thing to really keep in mind with this is that Assault Sniper is a skill that is classified as a rifle skill. So when you are using the node called Sniper's Will, when you cast Assault Sniper, you gain a stack from Sniper's Will as well. Now, there's a little difference here. Now, I will say, if you are running Sniper's Will and you're not running Assault Sniper or you're not running Secret Bullet, your rotation will change because you want to have max Sniper Will stack before you run your T skill. So if you don't have Assault Sniper and you are 1660, you would rather dump Catastrophe and Perfect Shot before you start casting your T skill or your focus shot. Because then your sniper's will gain max stack, which means your T skill will be at maximum efficiency,
Right.
and your focus shot will be at maximum efficiency. So you want to make sure to stack it that way. But for the people who are above 1660 and you have assault sniper that you're working off of, you don't have to worry about that. So when it comes to getting your damage rotation off, once you cast assault sniper and your T skill, you are now dumping your sniper skills. So what I like to do, I like to just make sure to have catastrophe going off, because you can see the damage is happening over the course of time. And I immediately follow with focus shot, because focus shot is, again, this is your third hardest hitting skill within your class tree. So if I remove the cooldowns and I take this back a little bit, I'm casting assault sniper, I'm casting T skill, I'm casting catastrophe. Now, if I notice that my crit synergy is going to run out by the time I get to focus shot, then I will go ahead and swap back to my pistol stance and just make sure to reapply it before I cast focus shot.
Okay.
Now, there's a reason that happened. And the reason that happened is because the crit synergy that I applied was spiral.
Right.
So when I started dumping all my skills, the crit synergy had ran out by the time I got to focus shot. But if your crit synergy is instead the dexterous shot, which lasts 8 seconds, you'll notice that. Sorry, I actually did the wrong skill. Let me do that one more time. So if you actually use dexterous shot and you do this, you'll notice that by the time I do my last shot of focus shot, it's still right on the edge of being very, very close. So these are all considerations that you have when you're dumping your skills.
Damn.
But other than that, really time to hunt is straightforward. So once you've gotten past those skills, you're reapplying your spiral, your bleed, you're getting your quick recharges proc, you're casting quick step whenever you can, and then you're following up with the remaining 2 sniper skills. So whether you do perfect shot first or you do target down first, it's preference. Target down does more damage. Perfect shot does less damage, but again, it depends on, you know, where the boss is standing. If the boss moves out the way or you have to reposition, you can take the time to try to aim perfect shot, or you could just try to snipe. Now, because I'm a controller player, I do have a preference. I have to use target down before I use perfect shot, because if I use perfect shot and the boss moves, it's very hard to aim this in a fight while also trying to get it in that perfect zone. It's very difficult to do this on controller, but if you're a keyboard mouse player, you probably won't have that issue. So back to the skill rotation, we covered T skill and assault sniper. We covered catastrophe into focus shot. I've mentioned this before, you have to run your fillers to reapply your crit synergy. You want to run target down into perfect shot. And then you have your remaining 2 pistol skills, which is meteor stream and bullet rain. Really, that's essentially the nature of how the class plays. It's not so much about playing on a particular rotation, but it's about grouping your skills together where it makes sense. So sniper assault, T skill gets grouped up, catastrophe and focus shot gets grouped up, target down and perfect shot gets grouped up, and then bullet rain and meteor stream gets grouped up as well. But as you are actually fighting and you have different cooldowns and you're kind of playing around, your skills will get misaligned, which is normal. That's fine. Unlike tier 3, you don't have to align your skills as much. Literally, time to hunt literally hits the point where you're just dumping skills. That's like, time to hunt is very straightforward. As long as you get your fillers in and you're constantly dumping skills, reapply crit synergy, using my sniper skills, maybe repositioning, using pistol skills here. At this point, I've dumped all my skills, so now I'm just waiting for my cooldowns to come back, while I'm also repositioning. Catastrophe is back up, reapply my crit sin, get my quick recharges procced. Assault sniper is back, pop that, reapply crit sin. You'll notice that it's a lot of like, just skill spamming that happens, and as long as you hit things when your priority skills are back up, it's pretty straightforward of a class. Very, very straightforward.
You think what was the question? Now we can ask a question. Yeah, of course. What was the question about the karma that you asked? Do you think you can do a guardian so we can see it in action?
Sure.
If you can do the scorpion.
Sure.
Oh,
I
I
will say.
forgot the QR and drop my poison and bleed. Oh, you're gonna do the quick search, the quick research? Yeah, that's actually giga chat
Yeah.
for 1680s. But so I was gonna ask you. So you have to change your brain off because you have all the 1660s, right? So it's slightly different, right? The rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh damn! I mean, you play it all the time, so you get used to it. But
Right.
it's like the
True.
gun lancers, you know, they can do the front, the space bar, and the back space bar when they have the alt.
Yeah.
Can you ask
I
how
will
far
say I'm.
behind in DPS TTH is behind a similar gear skill PM player? Question mark. What's the difference
Yeah.
between one another?
What was the question?
Which one does more damage, like PM or how much behind or similar?
I would say Peacemaker does about 5 to 10% more than Time to Hunt. The gap is not that drastic.
Nice.
Let's try out this Scorpion so you guys see it. I will say I'm not the best at Scorpion is yet. This fight is annoying as hell.
Yeah, I know.
But you guys will see Time to Hunt in action.
So it's not that much. If you get really good at this one, you can clap anybody. You know, it's all
Yeah.
about practicing.
Sometimes you also have to wait for your support to kind of come by
Yeah.
before you actually start dumping skills. So you'll notice I didn't use my T skill
Yeah.
right off the bat. And we also don't have the ability to see the crit synergy, so you kind of have to, like, you essentially have to feel it out. Just guard. Oh. Well, that was interesting timing of counter. You guys will notice the white numbers with Blunt Thorn.
Yeah, I
That's
saw.
just the
Yeah.
nature of it.
Oh, I saw that. So strong, man.
Ah, yes, the fun part. Also remember, use your fillers to keep your adrenaline going. That's like a pretty big thing. Ah, yes, this is where the fun part comes in.
Yeah.
The T skill, which obviously I got knocked, which is okay, but I gained my cooldown back, not a big deal.
Yeah, diablo. 2 bills.
Funny enough, I saw I don't have meter running, so I don't know how much I was buffed with that, but
Yeah.
normally you would naturally see a lot harder hitting numbers when it comes to using your T skill. That was 2.3.
Diablo. Fucking damn, bro.
Let's go through this.
You get
1.8.
immunity when you're doing the T skill, right?
You gain paralysis immunity, but you don't get push immunity.
Oh wow. So you actually gotta get good at it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta be very
And that's
careful.
why I will say the soul cast is pretty nice, because in case the boss moves or you have to reposition, you gain that benefit.
Yeah.
Oops, I forgot to cast my hyper there.
No.
Oh well, it's okay. It's okay. Got a little greedy. I shouldn't have done my assault sniper, but it's okay. All right, let's go ahead and sit on the ground a little bit. Go ahead and throw this off. 2.1.
Yeah. And
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. If you are in sniper stance, everyone should know this about gunslingers. You're not countering nothing.
yeah,
There's no way to.
bro.
There's no
Yeah.
way to. There's no way to counter.
That's the only thing that I didn't like about Gunslinger, man. Since for years and years and years, I always say the same. Like
Yep.
that's the only thing that I don't, I don't like about the class. Other than that, everything else is perfect. But because the thing for me, bro, I love countering. You get what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna be using my rifle and canceling to get a counter. It's not happening. It's
Exactly.
just not happening, bro. Like that's somebody else's job. Jesus Christ.
Not the fastest run, and also messed up, but that's okay. At least you guys got a little bit of a idea of just generally how it plays.
Damn. So it's actually better than what I thought. Because
It
I thought
is.
you was actually like sitting on skills because you didn't have the shotguns. With the shotgun you
Yeah.
kinda go between one and another, you always sending it, but that one is actually I was sending it as well too.
Yeah. There's maybe approximately anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds of a downtime.
Downtime? Yeah.
But I will say that in
Oh,
the course of an actual fight where you
you,
have to reposition, move around, do
right,
fillers, you don't really feel it for the
right.
most part.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So yeah, that's really it when it comes to time to hunt. If anyone has any questions or if you have anything, just lay it on me.
Damn, that's a lot of information, brother. What the hell?
And something you guys will notice is that I'm very detail orientated. I love to help out the community. I love to answer questions. I love to explain why we
Right.
do the things that we do in certain ways. So whether it's time to hunt or gunslinger or just the game at large, when it comes to bigger topics, like I'm here to help out.
Right. Claps in the chat, guys. Which of the two classes has more ceiling? He said Peacemaker can have like from 5 to 10% more damage.
Yes.
But the thing is,
So
you can actually do really well as well if this is what you like he does. This is what he plays. So he doesn't
mhm,
mind losing a 5 to 10% because he's having fun at the same time. So sometimes you have to
yeah.
sacrifice a little bit of damage and then fulfill your needs, and that's what you want. You want to play something that you enjoy. That you're not
Yeah.
looking necessarily for more damage.
And one thing I will add to that is we do have a lot of log websites where you can kind of see where time to hunt ranks the peacemaker. Time to hunt, the floor got brought up by quite a bit, so you can perform extremely well. A really good peacemaker gunslinger will generally beat a really good time to hunt, but an average peacemaker gunslinger will get completely gapped by a good time to hunt player. And this is
Mm,
why I always feel like if you can play time to hunt really well, especially on your alts, you can completely body peacemaker. That's not to
mm.
say peacemaker isn't
It's weak.
strong or time to hunt isn't strong.
Right.
Yes, we could use a couple buffs here and there, but I will never be the type of player to say, "Oh, time to hunt is weak. Oh, time to hunt needs tremendous buffs." It is an average class, and you want to be average. Being average is a good thing in the balance
That's
of the
true.
game.
That's true. So true. Because if you are meta class, you're prone to get nerfed. If you stay in
Yeah,
the middle, then nobody touch you. They buff you little by little, guys. That's what
yeah.
you wanna have.
And the beauty of time to hunt, which I'm not at that level of gear as yet. I think there's a lot of things that are too expensive, and when you're swiping legitimately, there's only so much gold you can get.
Right.
But the biggest thing is the class itself scales like crazy. Can you imagine what it's like to play Time to Hunt when you have full Swift with full spec, with a bracelet that has more swiftness associated with it,
Yeah.
where you have adrenaline kind of maxed out so you can offload some of this.
Yeah.
The sky becomes a limit because I'm sitting here thinking we can gain more Swift, we can swap our elixir over from master to
Too
critical.
critical.
Like the damage is there, it is on the table. We can continue to grow as a class, and that's the
Mm.
beauty of time to hunt.
Jeez. Damn. Well, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate the fact that you took some time to help us with this. This is
Yeah.
insane, man. It's funny. Our jokes aside, like back in the days, one of my boy, the Beast, he actually used to play Peacemaker, and then he
Hmm.
swapped to TTH. And I'm talking about long time ago. We're talking about tier 3, and he told me like, bro, TTH is nice. It slaps crazy, and back in the days on tier 3 wasn't as crazy as it is right now.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I like it. Maybe I'll give it a try on tier 4. That's his YouTube video. Make sure to follow him on YouTube, guys. And it's gonna be on my video, my description and everything. It's gonna be all the information. I'm gonna have his YouTube channel and everything. But make sure to follow him on YouTube as well. Give it a sub. And well, thank you, Mira. And I'll see you around, brother.
Yeah, just real quick, I want to thank you as well for this opportunity. What you do for the community is tremendous. The ability to help out players, putting together these guides. I'm all about having a better community and having better changes for Lost Ark at large. So, keep up the good work. And yeah, if anyone needs to reach me, I'm on YouTube. You can also add me on Discord. And Mr. 4K, I don't know if I could do this, but can I give a little shout out to the homies as well? Is that all right?
Of course, brother. Of course, everybody.
Okay. So as you guys heard last week, again, I'm not really on the map. People do know me as like one of the only time to hunts out there, but I have a lot of great friends that got me into the game. Folks like G Bernie, One, Avnik. These are people who are my shot callers who taught me the game. My static members, shout out to Big Yada Dean himself, one of the best zerkers on NA, Pally main as well. Eddie, also part of our artist squad. He is a 6 main artist roster, supreme leader of the Lolly Force himself. You guys know who Creshshot is. He's known as Rexy, the resident catboy, the sharpshooter himself. Shout out to Feelings. He's part of South America, one of the homies. You guys probably know his Feelings as the soul leader. Amazing guy, amazing individual. G Wraithley and Dash, amazing dynamic duo in my static. They're really great DPSers as well. And then the people who reached out to you last week, Mr. 4K,
Tomato,
Gungar, Bebis, the Rat Squad, Boss, Tamamo, which is AKA Tomato Main herself. The reason she is one of the reasons I can humble soul leaders out there, and then my brother Mental as well. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to the gunslingers out there as well. King Kong Dog, Dark Sma, Drill. These are some really prominent gunslingers on EU. One of the best. So appreciate it, man.
This is huge, bro. This is huge outro, bro. This is huge.
Yeah.
It gave me shit, bro. That shit was nice. Damn, thank you. I'm gonna message you about the circle because I'm really interested about the circle because you mentioned it and I haven't done any circle guy yet. So if you can tell me the name on Discord, bro, that'd be huge, huh?
Absolutely, I got you. One of the best, and I'll send all my people your way. I hope you continue to grow, and if you need anything, I'm here for you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Have a good one, bro.
All right, you too. See you, man.
All right, GG. Damn, bro, qué poderoso, cabrón. What a goal. Diablo, cabrón. That shit was crazy. Seguí yo, ¿viste? Cabrón. Damn, bro. That shit's insane, man. Qué poderoso. Diablo, man. That shit was crazy. Dios. Seguí yo con el outro, ¿viste, hermano? Sí, es duro. Yeah, he's nice, huh? But then the thing is like, put it like this: it's only 7%, like almost 7% of people that only play TTH. So how will you know? You get what I'm saying? Now you gotta have people like that to explain it, break it down, and explain the reason why it's so good and it can be good. The pros and cons, how to play, how not to play. It's huge. This guy is insane, bro. ¿Ah? Tienes que hacer el circle. Sí, lo voy a hacer. Le voy a preguntar. Diablo, cabrón, qué poderoso ese tipo, cabrón. Me quedé en shock, cabrón, bro. Diablo, mano. Me quedó sorprendido al final, loco, ¿viste? Muy humilde, papi, le dio los props a los amigos y la gente que juega bien también, ¿no? Damn, bro. That shit's crazy. I'm still in shock, bro. That shit's shock. Yo, thank you for the follow, guys. Thank you for the follows. Qué poderoso, bro, de wow. That's insane, bro. TTH, bro, TTH. So is TTH the Dream, guys? 1660 by Peacemaker. Sí, pega duro, cabrón. That's when power meets the knowledge. Se ve fuerte, ¿viste? Se ve fuerte. Se ve fuerte. But the thing is that you cannot be missing your skills, you know? You cannot be missing your skills. Because if you miss your skills, it's over, brother. Jesus. Fíjese, I like FIES. Claro, que poderoso, cabrón, el tipo, le metió cabrón. TTH equals time to swap. Yes, is there. Okay, trust me. Qué linda, qué linda. No, I like FIES. Don't get me wrong, I like FIES. But there's a lot of classes that I would like to play the second engraving. I say it all the time, but like this class, Shadow Hunter, I wouldn't mind playing the second engraving, Deadeye, Shadow Hunter, every class. It don't matter.